Welcome to Pop Culture Retro, which was recently voted the 15th best podcast by the residents of the Golden Years Retirement Community in Boca Raton, Florida. Each show, we'll revisit some of your favorite pop culture memories with insider and outsider perspectives. Now, please help me welcome your hosts, Ike Eisenmann and Jonathan Rosen.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Pop Culture Retro. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Ike Eisenmann. And today we are thrilled to welcome an actor who's appeared in just about everything, with over 200 credits to his name, including such films as Escape from Alcatraz, Running Scared, and Billy Madison. He's also the author of the fascinating book, That Guy, A Cautionary Memoir. Please help us welcome Larry Hankin. Larry, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You've had such a great career, and we have a lot to cover. But to start with, I was going through your memoir, That Guy, and the very first story in it was terrifying. You're lucky to be alive. You were around 6 and were involved in a fire. Can you tell us about what happened and how did that affect you going from that point forward?
Well, the key to that story is that I didn't learn anything from that. That's the whole point.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't be here today if I learned something. No, it just my life has been like that. So that's I assume I didn't learn anything. I threw okay, I was about 6 years old, me and two of my friends, Freddie and Eddie, and that's really their name, Freddie and Eddie. I had they're different families. Freddie Halla and Eddie, I can't remember his last name. Anyway, we went down into the cellar, and in those days, back in the day, in these ancient dark days of my youth, there was oil burners, and your house was heated by an oil burner. Mm-hmm. Which had a fire, a furnace down in the cellar. So we were, and it was easily accessible, and it was run by coal. I mean, we had a delivery of coal once a month, and then we'd shovel coal into the furnace and light it, and we would have heat. So what happened was we decided that we were going to play scientists, me, Freddie, and Eddie. We're going to go down to the cellar and find stuff, like paint and kerosene, and throw it into the furnace and watch it flame up.
Oh, my!
We threw a couple of coal chunks, coal hunks, coal stones, whatever they're called, into the fire, and they would, glow red and burn. That was not very interesting. So we started mixing these, well, we called them chemicals. Even at 6, we said, we'll get these chemicals. But it was just anything with liquid, any bottle with liquid. And we all found, kerosene and paint. So they threw some paint in, but it didn't really, it flamed, but nothing. And then I got this great idea of a mixture, and here's the key to the whole thing. My mixture was a glass full of kerosene with a lump of coal in it, and that was my mixture. That was my chemical mixture, and I threw it into the fire, and I leaned in to the door was about this big, and I leaned in as I threw it in to watch it flame up. Well, the thing exploded right in my face.
My God.
This flame and it was like aimed because the opening was this big and there was a big explosion in there. So the flames just came out in a straight line, just through. And I heard that my two friends went, "Oh, Larry." And I turned around. I didn't feel anything. I felt, it was just, whoa, wow, that was weird. And the look on their face was just like horror, man. Because I had burned my face off. It's basically what I just done. Well, the first layer of skin. Pretty horrible. but I didn't burn it off. I just got all the eyebrows, all the eyelashes. Thank God I closed my eyes in time. And all this hair was burned. It was just like all around. And at 6, yes, and the beard too. Yeah, 6. Uh, so that was, did I learn anything? What did I learn from that? Nothing. My whole life was throwing stuff into the fire and leaning into, let's see this real close.
Oh my gosh.
So it turned out that later in life, because back in the day, in the 40s and 50s, there was no such thing as dyslexia or ADHD. There was nothing like that. But that's what I had. I had ADHD and dyslexia. No thanks to my dad, who I just argued with most of my life, most of his life. So he enhanced it or made it bigger and worse than it was just by our relationship. I mean, in other words, he would say I was stupid. So that's what he called me. Hey, stupid, come here. Now that's, back in the day, that's what it seemed like. I mean, that's what stupid people did. They threw stuff in fires and leaned in. But it was dyslexia. In other words, I misinterpreted. Basically now, in the scientific world, I understand it, basically, so it's a learning deficit in one particular thing, and that's linear, kind of linear memorization, I guess. So to this day, how it shows up as an actor, which is kind of weird, is memorization is very different. So that's really the sum total of it. But back in the day, I would misinterpret instructions and stuff, or body language, or signals, or whatever. So, and I finally, the way I coped with it, until finally people said, "Oh, it's dyslexia and ADHD," was I figured I would just go with whatever misinterpretation I had, figuring I had 50-50 chance of getting it right. So 50, 50% of the time, I was just a normal human being, and then 50% of the time, man, it was like a hard rain in school, man. It was, I would argue with teachers all the time about, like, I remember temperature. He was trying to tell me, I don't know what grade it was, but it was public school, where he was showing how temperature, depending on the tactile sense of our hands, plus the surface of whatever we felt. For instance, he would have us feel wood, like a wooden chair, and then we would feel the slate of the blackboard. And they would feel different temperatures, but they were actually the same temperature. But the way I interpreted it was, no, they were different temperatures. If they felt different, they were different. And he couldn't convince me that, no, it was the surface that felt different, and yet we interpret. And and I spent many an hour in the principal's office,
Wow, jeez.
and my parents would be called to school. So I mean, that's a long way of answering your question.
Yeah, but given all of that, what prompted you to become a performer?
I couldn't do anything else. It's very simple. I didn't want to do anything else because I didn't know I had dyslexia or
Sure.
ADHD. So my choice was just stay away from people and instructions. Just if there was instructions, with the gig or whatever, I didn't want to do that. So basically, I went through my youth just wanting to hang out. That was just hang out with my friends. That's I had no dreams, or I was living in the moment from moment to moment, which is kind of, now I'm writing about it, and I kind of figured them, living in the now is like BS.
Well,
It's
you also did you did
but
stand up, and so do you
yeah,
remember what your in Greenwich Village? Do you remember what your first act was like?
my first what?
Act, your stand up
Oh,
act, what routine?
yeah, I do remember it. I don't remember it exactly, but I remember the subject and what it was. And I remember at one point growing up in my bedroom when I was young, uh, I guess about 14 or 12 or 14. There was a mosquito in my room. It was late at night. I woke up and bzzz, it would come and go. It's but it was dark. It was 3, 4, 2, 3 in the morning. Oh man, let me just. It's spam risk. It's a spam. um. So you can't hear that, right? I can
No,
hear.
No,
no, I didn't hear. No,
no,
no.
we can't. Yeah.
So what I did was um I finally figured out how to get rid of the mosquito, which was kind of simple, but just turn the light on in the hallway and open my door a little. And this mosquito just went to the light. I mean, all animals go to the light. So, well, and mosquitoes, animals and mosquitoes. Uh, so that's how I did it. Okay. So in my act, that was one of my hunks. That was the first thing that I ever did on a stage. And the whole point, it wasn't funny at all because basically how I comedically got rid of the mosquito that was keeping me awake was I tried to, it's not funny, but it's coming back to me now. I tried to psychoanalyze the mosquito by having him lay down on a very small couch, and then I slammed the couch against the ceiling, killing it. So, and I, at that time, I had just graduated college. So I went through public school, high school, and college before I ever even thought about show business or getting into it. It never occurred to me. I never wanted to be an actor or a comedian or anything. I did watch, Milton Berle on television and the comedy. I liked comedy, so Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton. I was attracted to that, and I always, referred to it or whatever, and I could imitate it. Things that like Chaplin's walk, which was very noticeable. So, uh, but when I went to college, I didn't enjoy it at all, but I did it because I didn't know what else to do and I was listening to my parents. So my best friend in college was Carl Gottlieb, who was later to write Jaws and all the other movies he wrote. And he was my best friend when we hung out together. And so anyway, it's in the, by the way, here's the book.
Oh, we're gonna ask you about the book for sure. Yes.
Oh yeah, we will definitely, but that's great.
Yeah. Okay. So this story is in the book, but we hung out, and I asked him. I got into a fight in college on graduation day. I got into a fight, a big fight, bad fight. My arm, I dislocated my arm. I was really beat up. I started it, so I guess I deserved it. Just bam.
Oh, wow.
It's cool though. I got in my shots. I got in some cool shots. I really did. And but I lost. But don't start fights. That I learned that. I did learn that. But it took me. I had to go to college to pick that up. And so Carl said he was going to Greenwich Village, and he asked me where I was going to go. It was like this is like graduation night now, after the fight and everything. And he said, because everybody's leaving college, graduation. So he said he was going to Greenwich Village. He wanted to be a writer. He was going to get a job on a newspaper or something, or whatever. And I said, well, how would you like a roommate? Because I had no place to go. I mean, I did. Now, here's the weird thing. If there was something that I really liked, I could do it. I could follow. Well, if there
Mhm.
wasn't too much instructions, I liked art. I like to do, those are my paintings up there. So I
Oh, I've been
like,
staring at them. Sorry, I've wondered. They're fantastic.
oh, thank you. I got like 40 of them. They're up on my website, thereallarryhankin.com. Uh, they're for sale. I got to make them cheaper. They're like thousands of dollars. As a joke, I said to my friend, put prices on them. Say about $300, $400. What the are you talking about? But I never had the chutzpah, the energy to change it. So I just left it. And I think I sold two. I think I two. I
Wow.
got to change them. They should be like $25 or something like that. $10, whatever. Okay. So I went to Greenwich Village and I had I did get high marks. I mean, I got like an A minus in industrial design because
Mhm.
I thought it was art. So I love drawing, making these, drawings of cars with ollies, little shiny stars on the
Mhm.
chrome, little flash. They're called ollies, by the way.
Oh,
These
wow.
little
Okay.
stars of glimmer, flashes of the, on the, okay. So, but I didn't want to go to, what is it? Detroit. Yeah, Ford Motor Company really wanted me. I mean, I was good. I was good at
Wow.
because I loved drawing all the things we had to invent and design the
Mhm.
engineering internal stuff, industrial design. But I loved designing the actual exterior of things and, when teardrop stuff and, really cool cars but I didn't want to work there. I just loved doing so I got an A
Fun.
minus, but I said, Carl, let's go to Greenwich Village. I don't want to go to Detroit. So I turned down like a big money.
Wow.
My, uh, my roommate was an industrial designer too. He went, he made a lot of money, but he had many heart attacks and divorces. I followed his, so I'm glad I didn't do it. They all of them and something that they lost their hair, they got old. It was just Detroit industrial design. Boy, did I do a cool thing. Uh, but I got a job in bars in Greenwich Village, just from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. bussing the bars, cleaning up the peanut shells
Mhm.
and stuff. Uh, so so I had my evenings free, and Greenwich Village was full of coffee houses, full of
Mhm.
Bob Dylan and Love and Spoonful and uh, Peter, Paul, and Mary. And that was Greenwich Village when I was in Greenwich Village. They were all there. Now, they hadn't coalesced yet. So Peter never met Mary yet. And Peter was actually Noel Stuckey and
Right.
Paul Stuckey
Right.
and Peter Yarrow had never met yet, but were there. There was Peter Yarrow, there was Mary, I forgot her last name, and Noel Stuckey, and then Dylan was there, and they were all there. We were all there. But I was bussing bars. I would just go to the coffee houses to see him, and then go
Mhm.
to work at 2 a.m. in the bar to bus because we're all in the same place. But I started to see that, wait a minute, the comedians weren't as funny as the audience thought. I didn't think they were funny at all. I thought, hey, my mosquito thing is going to go over big. That's what I thought. I thought, no, I got this mosquito punk.
Mhm.
I'll try it. It didn't go over well at all, but somehow I thought I can do it better tomorrow night. So I had my evenings free. I could just, every night I would go because Carl and I lived right up the block together. We shared an apartment
Mhm.
and they were really cheap. I think it was like $75 a month or $150 a month, $75. So I would pass the hat and I would get up on stage and I would get better and better. I mean, it was something that I could grok. I don't know. I understood it for some reason. And I got really funny. And then within 6 months, I had a manager. I was opening for Woody Allen. I was opening for Miles Davis, Kingston Trio, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
It started to tour. And I was in show business. And then finally, I started to hit, so I'll wrap it up because I don't want to talk. Finally, I started to, I started to, George Carlin, Richie
Wow.
Pryor, and Lenny Bruce. And that's what I was attracted to. And they were called, what do we call it? I can't remember, but certain kind of mind comedians, based on real things in the news and facts, and not television. Hey, did you see the commercial last night? No, none of that. Just human being stuff, and it really got. So I started doing that, and people started booing and throwing stuff, and cops took me off the stage, and back to square one, throwing stuff in the fire and looking at it. So I called my manager, who was Woody Allen's manager. I said, I can't do this. They don't boo Woody Allen. He said, he's doing television material, Larry. He's not doing, because Richie Pryor was doing it, but and George Carlin was doing that, but they insisted. In other words, when they got busted or pulled off the stage by the police or booed, they would just continue and say, screw you, I'm going to do this because I want to do this. And I just didn't care. So I called my manager and said, I don't want to do this anymore. The cops are pulling me off the stage. It's not fun. I was just having fun, man, because I was getting laughs and opening for really big acts.
Right.
But it's good.
No, I was just curious. How did you wind up at Second City, and what was that?
Okay, so my manager said, well, if you don't like it and they're pulling you off the stage, join Second City. You can do the same stuff as Carlin and Lenny, but they own the theater. So they'll kick the cops out, and you'll be cool. And then he also added, and you also have 4 other people on the stage with you. So if somebody, because people were coming at me with beer bottles saying, get the fuck off the stage. I mean, it was getting serious. It was getting serious.
Wow.
And so he said, and you got 4 other people to fight the guy with the beer bottle. And besides, he said, the stage is, 3 feet high. They have to climb up. So you have time to run. Thank you.
Wow.
God.
So that's how I got into theater. Finally, we started our own theater called the Committee up in San Francisco, 5 people from Second City. And then people would come back and hire us because we had a hit show. So we didn't have to audition. So they would just come up and say, hey, that guy's funny. Who was it? Laverne of Laverne and Shirley. Penny Marshall.
Right, yeah.
She discovered me. If there's anybody who discovered me, it was Penny Marshall. She came up and she said, when she got back, they were doing a dating episode where they were going to their prom, Laverne and Shirley. So Laverne, Penny Marshall, I was a physical comedian and I was tall. So she said, the physical comedian, I want to dance with him. So they hired me to do that. And then I got a manager from that. So that's how I got into show business.
Well, I was reading your credits. So one of your first roles, though, it was in an episode of That Girl with Marlo Thomas, and I actually watched that episode. Was that intended to be a regular role? Because it seemed like it.
No, as I recall, I was dressed very straight, very normal, and I was a stage manager on TV show. It was just a one-off.
Oh, really? Because it seemed like it was going to be a regular. It seemed like it was catered to be a regular thing, like, but she was into acting.
I looked at it. I watched it. I mean, this is years ago, but I watched it. I mean, years after I did it, somebody said, "Hey, I just saw it. Watch it." Blah blah blah. So I watched it, and I thought, in other words, I didn't have a character or myself yet. I didn't know what I was doing, I was learning. So it was just very straight. I had no laughs. It was just, hey, move over there and blah, blah, blah. And I was dressed very ordinarily in a, nice clean shirt and a pair of pants and, you know, uh, so, and I think it was really my first ever job on TV. That's how, other than that, I would be doing little stuff in San Francisco locally, like TV commercials, but local, or voiceovers local, besides acting on stage in the committee. And but Laverne, no, the first thing I ever did was Laverne, Laverne and Shirley.
Mm.
I got a manager, and then he booked me to the Marlo Thomas thing. So but it was very early in my career, and I didn't know what I was doing. Even on the Laverne and Shirley show, which I think is in the book, I was looking into the fire and getting my face burned. Her brother, just hollered at me, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" "Well, we're dancing." "No touchy feely." I remember he yelled that to me. "No touchy feely." And she just looked at Laverne, Penny Marshall just looked at, and she shrugged and she said, "He's my brother. He's my older brother." Because we were dancing, and I threw her on the couch, or I dropped her on the couch because I didn't want to drop her on the floor. I was afraid I would hurt the star. I didn't want to drop her on the floor. But she's a physical clown. I mean, she knows comedy really well, and she's a physical comedian. So if I dropped her, she would know how to fall. But I just couldn't do it. I said, "No, man, if you hurt yourself, they're gonna fire me. So I'll drop you on the couch." So if I dropped her on the couch, she said, "Okay, and you fall on top of me." That's a double laugh. So when I fell on top of her, her brother was watching that. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, practicing dancing." He said, "No touchy feely," because I was laying on top of her. So she shrugged. He said, "Hey, he's my older brother. He's protecting me."
Wow. Well, let's talk about Escape from Alcatraz, which is a movie I absolutely love. How did you come to that part?
Again, I mean, by this time now, so this was like well, actually, no, what was it? It's like 1970, 72, I don't know. So I had left the committee to go down there to work because there was a lot of money down there. I didn't want to be an actor. I just wanted to get the money. So, but actors were being paid to me, his character. So I got a call from my agent saying, Clint Eastwood is doing a movie. It's a tentpole movie, like a big time movie. And hurry and get down there. They're closing in an hour. And this is out in the valley. So I didn't want to go because I said, they're closing. So he said, "Yeah, this is the last day of auditions." And it was out in the valley. And I thought, I knew enough about auditioning by then. I'd been an actor now for 2 or 3 years, for flying down. Finally, I moved down there. And so I knew that if they were closing, it's got to be a small part. And, I mean, yeah, working with Clint Eastwood, I wanted to do that. So that's what I did it because of the name Clint Eastwood. That was, okay, maybe I'll work with Clint Eastwood. So I went down there grudgingly, and that was my mindset was, all right, I'll do it, 2 or 3 days, God knows where they'll film it, flying there. And I mean, I was in a comfort zone. I just didn't like give me what is it? A card, a separate card, which is billing, separate card, pay good money, and just only a week's work. When a movie, you have to like hang around for. Okay, so I went and nobody else was there. So I knew it was 1 or 2 days, very small part, and no, and no lines to memorize. They didn't give me any. So I thought, wow. I said, or I wanted to go home. I didn't want to eat it. I figured this is all going south, the whole thing. No lines. I didn't know what the part was. I didn't know how long I would work. I didn't know what the money was. I didn't know anything. He said, just get down there. It's Clint Eastwood. That was his instructions. So I went out to the valley, 45-minute drive. And it was just me and Clint was supposed to be there. I figured, well, even if I don't get the part, I'll meet him. He was going to audition with me. That was the key. And he wasn't there. He was a no-show. So I was talking to the director, and I just my attitude was just I didn't want to be there. And I let him know that. I mean, just by my body language and stuff. I go, yeah, well, he says, do you know what the part is? No, I don't. They didn't tell me. I'm doing that. I'm like fetching. I'm going, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to leave. But for some reason, he was a great director, and we got along great, and we became really good friends, and we were going to do a movie together. So that's the change that went. But he saw the character that I was supposed to play, Charlie Butts, and somehow he grokked that, no, this kid, who I didn't know how to act, but he said, if this kid doesn't act, he'll be Charlie Butts. He said, because the part is to hang out with Clint Eastwood. That was the part, Charlie Butts. Just be the foil, the Sancho Panza to Clint Eastwood. And that's what I grokked. That's what I got. I said, all I have to do is just hang out with Clint Eastwood, and I think I can do this part. Finally, he said, what part do you want to do? And I blew up. I said, I don't know what part they gave me. They told me you were going to tell me what part. I mean, I just wanted to go home. And he said, okay, you're Charlie Butts. Read this. And he gave me the part. He said, you want to rehearse it? He said, 1 page, I'll read with you. You want to read with me? I said, okay, yeah, I'll read with you. So he says, okay, page 96, go out. You want to rehearse it? Go outside, we'll wait. No, let's just do it. The finish to that sentence was, let's just do it so I can go home. But I just said, let's just do it. And he said, okay. So I go, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of it, he just said, okay, you got the part. You're Charlie Butts. And they never tell you that, man. I asked other actors, because for weeks I would say, when you auditioned, no, they don't tell you that, because that's a negotiating thing. If they say you got the part, your agent can say, well, he's got the part. We can ask for a lot of money because now we've got, a dealing point. So I see, and I just sat there staring at him, with my arms like this. And I sat there. Again, dyslexia. I didn't understand what was going on. ADHD, misinterpreting what he was trying to help me with. And I go, and he goes, and he saw this and he said to me, you don't believe me, do you, that you got the part? And I said, no, I don't. And I just sat there. And I thought, I caught this guy in a lie, and screw you, man. What is it? The suits.
Yes.
You're one of the suits. So he said, I'll tell you what, why don't you just go home, sit by the phone, and see what happens, okay? And I said, yeah, okay. He said, okay, now get out of here. And he gave me back, my attitude. He said, okay, now get out of here. And I go, okay. And I just got up and I left. And I said, what the hell was that all about? Well, I was saying that all the way driving back the 45 minutes. What the What's that all about? And why did my agent even send me? And about 10 minutes after I got into the house, my agent called and said, hey, you got the part. What? Now, here's the weird thing about even that. Once I got the part, it was 3 days work, which was fine. I mean, but it was 3 days with working with Clint Eastwood. I'm like, that's all I wanted. That was great. And I didn't ask for what money. I did. I was working with Clint Eastwood. That was good enough for me. And I thought, wow, man, I was bragging about that. Yeah, I'm working with Clint Eastwood. So you don't hear that, right? I can hear it, but you don't, right?
No, I
Okay.
don't know. Thank you.
No,
So
it's all
the
right. Yeah,
his
no.
story, when I got home, I had the part, but when I got there, it was on Alcatraz, and all my costume was a blue shirt with a white t-shirt, jeans, and white socks and black shoes, and that was 200, prisoners. That's what we wore, and we were there for 3 months. And I was so jazzed by working with Clint Eastwood on a big tentpole movie. It was the first big time thing that I'd ever been. It was like a circus to me. Just being, you're invited to be down on the floor with the circus. Wow. So, and this was on Alcatraz. So I came every day, and my 3 days weren't together. So I didn't just do 1, 2, 3. It was divided 1 week, day, next week, the next. So I had a couple of days there, and I always showed up in my costume because it was very easy, just put on a shirt, t-shirt, jeans, shoes and socks. Boom, nothing. Always in costume, waiting for an extra part, well, get in there. And son of a gun, if the director, Don Siegel, he picked up on that. And I always hung around with him because I wanted to see the movie. I wanted to see how they made it.
Right.
I wasn't interested in the acting part. I was interested in the whole thing. And I always stood by the camera and by Don Siegel in costume. So throughout the 3 months, I was there for the 3 months. They kept on saying, no, you come tomorrow. And Don Siegel always put me in the scene if he needed an extra. Because I was standing there, and he go, Hankin, get in there. And I go, what am I doing? It doesn't matter. Just get in there. It's just, I said, but what am I doing? He said, just get in there. I go, well, why am I in there? And he goes, well, I need another character in there. And then he would explain to me, which was kind of cool, man, because then I would get into his mind as a director. He said, look, it's a close-up of them. And this shot is in the movie. It's on the tier, and the McGowan and Clint Eastwood were talking, and it was a profile, close-up profile. And so he said, I got a hole here, and they were looking into the cell. So they were up on tier C. The camera was hanging out over the railing. They had to build a little bridge for it. The camera, and they were, because there's only this far away, and then there's the cell bars, then into the cell. So he said, I'm looking in, and there's a hole. I mean, it's just tooth guys, and all of a sudden it just goes into a wall. So I said, I need somebody in the cell. Get in the cell. So I said, oh, okay, fine. So I'm in the scene, but I don't have to know. I said, well, am I talking? No, just get in the scene. So I go, okay. Then I asked them, I said, creativity. So I said, how long before I have to be in the scene? Because they had to set up the lights. I saw the rehearsal. I sat in the scene. I saw the rehearsal. So now they got to set up the camera and the lights. So I said, how long before I have to actually be in there? You're going to shoot it. So he said, you got 5 minutes. So I ran, and I asked for a checkerboard because Warner Brothers had a prop department set up on the island. We all had to be on the island. So I went to the prop department. I said, give me a checkerboard because I want to play checkers. So he said, well, I don't have any checkerboards. I have a chessboard. And my thing was Charlie Butts, not Larry Hankin, Charlie Butts. I said, I can't play checkers. Charlie Butts can't play chess. I mean, I didn't think Larry Hankin is the actor. What's the backstory of Charlie Butts? I just thought, I can't play chess. I was thinking like Charlie Butts. It was like automatic. I didn't have to. So that's, I guess, why I'm a good actor. It's just an instinct. I don't know. So I said, okay, give me the chessboard. But now Larry Hankin also couldn't play chess. So I took the chessboard, I set it up, and all I was going to do was play checkers with chess. So I got in the scene, and he goes, okay, and action, blah, 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 blah. And I'm playing checkers with a chessboard in the background. And in the middle of the first take, the director says, cut, Hankin, come here. I go, okay. And I figured, well, I've done something wrong. So he calls me over, which was kind of nice that he didn't, holler at me in front of everybody, called me over. He said, what the fuck are you doing? I go, I'm playing checkers. He says, it's a chessboard. I go, yeah, well, Charlie Butts doesn't know how to play doesn't know how to play chess. And Alcatraz, I mean, this just came to me. I said, Alcatraz's prop department. Now I'm talking about Alcatraz, the prison, not the movie. I'm talking like Charlie Butts to the director off camera. I'm talking Charlie Butts, and I'm saying, I don't know how to play chess, so I'm playing chess with a checkerboard. I'm playing checkers with a chessboard because Alcatraz's prop department has all the checkerboards out to the other prisoners. And he goes, that's what you're doing. I go, well, that's what Charlie Butts is doing. He said, okay. And I go, I don't have to do that. I can do something else. I don't have to do anything. I'll just sit there. He says, no, just do that. Just do that. I just wanted to know what the hell you were doing, Hankin. I go, okay. And I got back. And if you look, yeah, I'm playing chess with a chess.
Watch that scene again.
So every time he would say, get in there. I mean, he did this all throughout the movie. I'm in the movie more than the part is written. The part is written in scenes. But I've got like a co-starring part. He paid me for co-starring. I got co-starring. If you watch the movie, it says co-starring.
Yes.
That's because I showed up every day in my costume. It had nothing to do with what I was hired to do or what that audition thing was all about.
It's a lesson to actors.
Yeah, man. Wow.
Show up.
But I was doing the right thing. I was hanging around with him, and he would just, and every time he would, my backstory on, like, for instance, I don't know, do we have time? Am I going on?
Yes, no, you're fine.
So what happened? Okay, here's the key to the whole thing in his mind. There is a scene where, no, what was it? Oh, yeah, okay. Where my wife is talking to me through the thing. My wife, Charlie Butts' wife, comes, and it's a scene near the end of the movie where she says, your wife, your father is dying, or somebody. It's a heavy scene, emotionally fraught scene, where she's on one side of the window and I'm on the other side. I'm in prison, and she's saying, your mother. Oh, it was your mother, my mother. Your mother is dying. She wants you to come. She's dying in the hospital. He said, I can't come. I'm in prison, So we touch, fingers through the thing, So he said on that day, and I feared that day because I didn't know how to act emotionally. I didn't know how to, I didn't. So he said, so now the day comes, and I'm playing cards with the crew, because I'm waiting for my turn. So, off to the side, we're playing poker. And they look up, and the director, Don Siegel, is standing behind me. And I look around, and he says, Hankin, what are you doing? And I know that I know that by now I know the process. He doesn't know what I'm doing, and he's goading me or something. He's got more in mind than what am I doing. So I go, I'm playing cards, you know. He said, you got a scene coming up. And he was talking about the crying scene. He says, you got a scene coming. I said, yeah, but it's not for a while. How long? He says, it's about 2 hours. I said, yeah, yeah. So I'm just playing cards. He said, it's a crying scene. I go, no, I didn't know that. He said, well, it's a crying scene. I mean, it's with your wife. Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay, okay. And I wanted to, because the other guys are just waiting, here's the director talking to me, and they got their hand, and then you're just sitting waiting, what's going on here? And he's just talking to an actor, like in the middle of a game. So he goes, no, do you know how to cry? Because he knew I wasn't an actor. That's why he hired me. So now you got to deal with an actor who can't cry. And he goes, no, you got to cry in this scene. I said, yeah, well, I don't know. I think I can. You think you can? You think? No, Larry, look, look. And then he goes, I have a prison. I have a prison movie. It's all testosterone. And he's going up like this. I got the arc of the movie. So I got an arc and it's all testosterone. These guys, it's just guys, and all they want to do is fight or escape. And I need another texture, another emotion. So what I need, you're going to cry right there. I need you to cry right there because there's no other emotion. Okay. So you're going to cry. You got 2 hours. I don't care if you have to slap yourself silly, but you're going to cry. Okay. And then he splits. And the other guy says, what the fuck was that all about? And so I got to leave. And I put my hand down on it. And I'm slapping like, I don't know how to cry, man, just like that. So I mean, that's acting to me. So you have to go to school for that. So I go into my dressing room and it's not working. My face is getting red, but I'm not crying. And so I just give up. I said, well, I'm going to get fired. And I for the rest of my career, I use this as an internal escape. And I never said it out loud. But I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And sometimes I would just make a choice.
Oh, I want to talk. Yeah.
What? I'm sorry.
No, I wanted to. I was curious about one thing. You worked with like a legend in Clint Eastwood there, but you another movie that you did was another legend was Annie with John Huston.
Yeah, but in other words, I would do it, and then once I'm there and with John Huston or Clint Eastwood or whoever, Bryan Cranston or whoever, somebody I looked up to, after a while, they're just people. And you forget about that. I mean, and then later when I leave, 2 years later, somebody asked me, yeah, you were working with John Huston. I go, yeah, wow, it was so cool. But that was like the first day, you're there with them 4 or 5 days, 3 months with Clint Eastwood. I mean, I was putting him on, I mean, we were I was in scenes with him. So you always respect. You got to. I'm reading Godfather now. Respect. So I always would, do the obeisance, the respect, but I would also kid around. Like we had a bet. I mean, jumping across the thing, that's in the book. I mean, we were betting, and he knew I was going to hurt myself, and he was just pressing it because Clint Eastwood wants you to go all the way. He doesn't back. He just full out. He said, oh, you think you can jump from here to there? And I go, oh, yeah. And there's a drop of like, 10, 20 stories. Or no, I think about 7 stories. Whatever. We were up on the of the prison, and we're looking down. And he was betting me. And then finally, Don Siegel broke it up. But he kept on insisting. He said, well, I'll bet you $10. And I go, okay. So we had a bet. And I wasn't going to jump because I knew I couldn't make it. But
Hmm.
I thought he was putting me on and I was putting him on, oh, I can do it. I can't do it. Oh, I'll bet. Yeah, I won't bet, but I thought we were just going to do that until the shot was all set up and we would just go act. So I thought there was no end to it, but there was no setup. That it kept on going. And I got closer and closer. And finally, when he told the crew, because the crew started to gather around, there's an argument.
See,
So, and he said, okay, go ahead. And he announced to the crew, Larry is going to jump across here. And I just bet him $10. Go ahead, Larry. And he says, back up, let him go. And I mean, he's really serious. Now he's acting, of course. I didn't know that. But he said, come on, Larry, let's go. Jump. And he's like goading me, man. And I didn't know how to get out of it because I wasn't going to jump. I mean, there's no way. But he kept on doing it, and it was Clint Eastwood. And all of a sudden, wait a minute, this is not an actor. This is Clint Eastwood. I said, what am I going to do? I'm going to look like an idiot if I just say, hey, I'm just kidding, blah, blah, blah. That's like being, a wuss. So, but thank God, Don Siegel comes up finally, the director arrives and he sees the crew, it's about like 20 or 30 guys just gathered around watching, and they give me a room to run. And there's Clint Eastwood standing at the edge saying, come on, Larry, let's go. And I see that Clint Eastwood is too far away from my run to get in front of me to stop me. So I know, oh my God, this is serious. Now, I don't know what was going through Clint's mind because he was too far away. So if I did, he was going to let me go. That's the only conclusion I could come to. I've never changed my mind about that.
wow.
And the director came up and said, what the fuck is going on? He started hollering, not at me, just at the whole thing. He said, what's going on here? And then Clint says, well, I bet $10 that Larry's going to jump across here. And so he's going to do that. And we got a bet. I mean, he just said it very naturally. And the director said, he walks over to the edge and he looks down, and then he looks across. And it's obvious I can't do it. And he turns to Clint and he starts hollering at him saying, okay, you know what's going to happen? Larry's going to jump across here and he's not going to make it. He's going to fall down there. He's going to break his head. And the least he's going to do is not kill himself. But we're going to have to call an ambulance. We're on Alcatraz. They're going to have to get a boat. We're going to have to call a hospital. You know how long that's going to take? We're going to lose a day's worth of shooting. You know how much is that's going to cost? Because Larry's going to jump and kill himself? No, everybody just cut it out. Stop it. He just went on like that. And I'm thinking, wow, that's so cool. I'm thinking he saved my ass, but he's really like hollering at Clint Eastwood. I've never seen that. I don't think anybody's ever seen that. And Clint says, okay, let's just go back to work. And nothing was ever said about it again. And I don't know what Clint Eastwood was thinking, but yeah, that was like an event. That was like so cool. The three of us, us. It was Clint, the director, and me, and the crew, four of us.
He was more concerned about delaying production.
Well, but no, that he pulled out, the director
Yes,
pulled
yes.
death and ambulance and blood and Larry's gonna die. I mean, he just went full out against Clint. And obviously he knew that this all was a put on. See, I mean, he said, okay, you two want to do put-ons? I'll show you put-on. And then really just went off on Clint. It was just amazing.
Wow. Well, that takes guts all around, no matter what.
Well, ADHD and dyslexia helps.
Hey, put it to your advantage. So we'd love to talk about Billy Madison, and that was Adam Sandler's first real big movie. I mean, his entire breakthrough in film. You also had the late Norman Macdonald in it. Was that a fun set to work on? And could you ever imagine that Sandler would go on to the huge career he's had?
No, I just saw he's in, the Spaceman, that
Mhm.
movie, and what is it? Gems.
Yeah, Uncut Gems. Right.
Great. He's a very good actor. He's an asshole in person, but he's a great actor. He really is, or a very solid actor. Yeah, but he's not. Well, because he's a control freak. But most really creative people who have control of their art, like writer director or actor producer, where they're in control of more than just what they're doing. You um, they are control freaks. I mean, that's if you have control, if you're a producer and you're an actor or a director actor, that comes with the territory. And you have to put up with it if you're just a hired actor. I mean, I don't want to do this. Hey, man, do that. And you got to do it because he's the director and the producer. And, you're a hired gun. So, but he's the worst as a control freak.
Wow.
That's why he does so great with other directors. And he's producing and directing his stuff, that stupid character that he used to. Well, Billy Madison. That was like a stupid character,
Mhm.
really. Um, it just unnerved me. I just, to me, it's like playing a violin. If you can't play a violin, it, it's unnerving. It's like a wrong note or something. I don't know. Yeah. So, and then he fooled me, and then he put me on, and I took umbrage at it
Oh,
because
wow.
Clint Eastwood, you know. But it turns out that all the old time, I was talking to Jackie Gleason, and I was in a movie with Jackie Gleason. Jackie Gleason likes to hold forth. He doesn't talk to anybody. He just tells these great stories, and then he goes into his dressing room. He comes out, sit in a chair, and he'll just watch for about 2 seconds. But he's Jackie Gleason, so everybody just gathers around. And then he just tells this great story. Well, back in the day, and he would just tell this great story. And then when he's finished, he would just, well, I got to go. And basically, he had to go take a shot of alcohol.
Oh, that's amazing.
And he
Wow.
said, I got to go back into, and he go, and he goes, yes, a lot of actors do that. They drink in the dressing room. I won't tell you who. Not many, not many, but there are a few. I've run into three in my entire career who you could just, when you're acting with them, you can smell the.
Oh, right.
Oh, gee whiz.
Uh,
Well,
yeah,
we we'd
some of
love to
them.
we'd love to discuss some of your TV work, starting with Seinfeld. Was it true that you were Larry David's first choice to play Kramer?
Yeah, me and well, him and Michael Richards.
Hmm.
Michael Richards and I were friends long before Seinfeld because we
Mhm.
were tall and we kind of looked alike. So we actually met a lot in auditions. So we knew
Oh,
each other from auditioning together for the same role. And sometimes I got it, sometimes he got it, sometimes neither of us got it. You know. So by the time then, when they said, we got to get somebody to play Kramer, he knew Kramer. Michael Richards knew the real Kramer.
you're the real person. Yeah.
And he's a real guy.
Right.
And I look a lot like him. And at the time I did. Now I even look more like him. He had a beard at the time and a mustache and long hair. And so, yeah. But Larry David, because he wanted the reality that I looked like Kramer. But I don't know why. So that's why I got the job. Is because I looked like Kramer, I guess. I don't know. But I really wanted Larry David like Clint Eastwood. I mean, Larry David knows what's funny, I mean, he really does. He's amazing. And he was going to direct me or direct us, you know, the whole
Uh,
crew. He stands on the side, though. He doesn't direct. He has a traffic manager who's called the director, where, you know, where the camera is, where to go, blah, blah, blah. But he looks at funny. Here's a weird thing about Larry David. I mean, great thing about him is he'll stand on the side and then he'll call you over, which I like. Some directors just say, hey, don't do that, do this. But they say it out loud in front of everybody. But Don Siegel and Larry David call you over to the side and give it to you privately. And I like that, you know, because it doesn't call attention. But he mainly does it with his regulars, you know, with Seinfeld or with Michael or with the girl or Costanza.
Louis Dreyfus, yeah.
Louise Dreyfus. Louise Dreyfus. So one time, or like a couple of times I saw him, he would call them over one at a time. Like he did this with Michael Richards. He said, Michael, come here. And he'd take him over and he'd go, blah, blah, blah. They were rehearsing a scene. So Michael did it, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and Michael, come here. So he'd go, blah, blah, blah. And he'd go in, and I don't know what he told Michael, but the scene was funnier. It just was. And he would do this with, you know, Dreyfus, and he'd do it with Costanza, and he'd do it with Seinfeld, you know, in the 5 days you rehearse before you do it. He'd call him over, and he'd go back, and the scene was funnier. They were funnier.
Wow.
And I go, God, yeah. And it would just bug the hell out of me because I wanted my turn. I wanted him to call me over and I would be funnier. And one day he did it. He said, Larry, I want to talk to you. And I go, oh man, it's my turn. He's going to give me the secret sauce. Calls me over. And he asked me what I was doing. And, I said, well, do it. Don't do it this way. Do it this way. And sure enough, it was funnier. It was, he knew what it was a small thing,
Wow.
How long in the audition process did you get before it went to Michael Richards?
10 times. They're supposed to pay you after 3, but I wanted the job so bad that I didn't complain. And they didn't bring it up. And neither did my agent, which I thought was kind of not cool.
Yeah,
hey man, he's auditioning the 4th time, you got to pay him.
Yeah, that's the thing they tend to overlook, and if everybody overlooks it, then we just all sort of
I want the job
quietly
so
say,
bad,
okay, yeah, that's fine. But once Michael got the part, could you bear to watch the show?
Oh no, I thought I don't. No, I don't get that way. That's weird. I don't understand that. No, man, it's like because you don't know what's in their mind. Never mind what the script says. Sometimes they cast against type. Sometimes they cast exactly. Sometimes they want somebody who does this but not that. Sometimes they just like the person from another show. It has nothing to do with like the Clint Eastwood thing when I was hired. It had nothing to do with me. It was something that I couldn't control. Yeah, so I thought they got the right guy.
Michael.
I knew Michael enough because I used to watch Michael. When he would get a job, I would watch because I liked what Michael did. Michael is funny. Unfortunately, he's not a funny stand-up guy. I mean, that killed his career. but as a actor, he's right on as a funny man. So I would watch him, and I thought, no, I couldn't come up with the stuff he would come up with. And Michael goes over, and I go under. He's over the top, and I go under. And television wants over, not under. Nowadays, you can go under. Breaking Bad broke that. Just punch through reality.
Yeah.
So even when it's funny, it's real. In Breaking Bad, on Breaking Bad. And Gilligan, just reality, be real, be real. So now you can go under.
Well, how about Friends? So you had the role on Friends. you were in several episodes. So you were told that you were going to be a regular? They said that to you, that you would, they never told you?
No, that was the dyslexia and ADHD. I didn't talk to them. They're a chatty group. They like to schmooze and talk and hang out, and I just do my job and go home. I don't, because I'm not an actor. I mean, I'm really not. In my mind, I'm still Larry. It doesn't leave you. I've been away too. In other words, I didn't start being an actor until I was like in my 30s. I was a stand-up comedian. I was an improv guy for years, Second City and the Committee. So by the time it was no big deal. I knew show business, and you can't impress me, except if you were Clint Eastwood or Larry David or Bryan Cranston, or Vince Gilligan, or even Laverne, But I just wanted to be an improviser for the rest of my life. That's what I wanted to do. And I didn't consider that acting. I didn't make a connection between what I'm doing on stage can be, modified to acting in front of a camera. I mean, you have to make an adjustment. It's not the same, but it comes from the same place. It's just different. So no, I never want to be an actor. So no, I thought he was the right guy, and I never argued about anybody who got a part that I didn't. I would watch, I like, if I didn't get it and Michael didn't get it, I would watch anyway to see who did get it.
Right.
To pick up something. But generally, I would say, now I was better. They should have gotten it.
Well, your part on Friends, what reason did they give you for killing off your character?
Say that again?
No, you're on Friends. What reason did they give for killing off your character?
The reason was, it was kind of a good reason, but I just didn't get along with anybody. I mean, really.
Oh, okay.
But the reason that they gave me, and I got a good reason, was that a episode before, I think it was the episode, because I don't watch television, and I didn't much, except for audition purposes. But before, somewhere along the line, Chandler was kicked out of the apartment for the 4 or 5 people. They were kicked out. He was kicked out. Now, I was on for about 5 programs, and in between the 4th and the 5th program, they kicked Chandler out. So now, because there was long times in between when I worked. So now they kicked Chandler out. Now they hired me. And they hired me to be in the apartment right across the hall. So the writers came to the conclusion that, oh my God, we kicked Chandler out, but he's not out of the show. He's part of the Friends. We got to get him back in, but we've kicked him out. And if he's living somewhere else, how does he come over all the time and be in every episode? They couldn't figure that out, except if they killed Mr. Heckles and gave him the apartment across the hall. Then he could just come over every day to borrow whatever. So that was the reason that they fired me, to give Chandler the apartment so he could be in every show, which is a very logical way to solve the problem. Rule to me. And because everybody who I meet on the street says, why weren't you a regular? That was such a great. Everybody. I mean, that's just not you guys. But so I've learned to live with it.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah.
Well, when you went back for the reunion show, was it discussed at all?
No, they didn't want me. They didn't want me on.
Wow.
No. In other words, it had nothing to do with what I just told you. Many years later, I mean, this is like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, right? The show was on
Right.
at the time. Okay, so about after the show was over, 5 years, no, it was on repeat, but 5 years after the original show was on, 5 years after that, the original company and the original writers, the original owners sold the entire kit and caboodle of Friends to an outside corporation. And the outside corporation decided to make more money, by having a reunion. So the outside corporation was the one who said, let's have a Friends reunion. It had nothing to do with the original company, the original Mr. Heckles, the original firing, the original Chandler. No. Okay, so since they didn't like Mr. Heckles, they thought he was an extra added and were a #1 show. They started to get guest stars who were stars in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the new corporation just wanted to fill the show, the reunion show, with the stars. So they just booked all the stars, and they didn't really have room for any extra people who were extras in the original show, like me, Mr. Heckles, Mr. Heckles. So that's why they didn't invite me. I wasn't important enough, and they were full of stars, blah, blah, blah. But who's the guy who plays the cop? He was he was the famous, he's on television now. The Blue, it's a cop show where they all are always around a dinner table.
Tom Selleck you're talking about?
Tom Selleck.
Yes.
So
yes.
basically, like Tom Selleck was on that show, a reunion. Okay. And the one thing I'm proud of that, there was two things. The one thing I'm proud of, they had Tom Selleck on. So I wanted to watch. They didn't even want me on the floor. They kept me in the room. I said, well, can I at least watch them tape the show? I complained. I kept on turning them down because I was insulted. They finally were talked into hiring me, but like 2 or 3 or 4 days before the actual shooting. But they were hiring for months before. That was planned for months, man. We as actors, all actors, knew that Friends had a reunion coming up. If you were on the show, you were going to be in there, and that's going to be a big payday. So we all knew. But I never got, 1 or 2 of the other actors got invited besides us. So I knew I was waiting for the phone call because it was the payday, man. I didn't care about the reunion part. It was a big payday. And then they never called. So finally, when they were talked into it, about 2 or 3 days, maybe 5, maybe a week before the show, they called me and I said, well, what are you going to pay? They called me. They didn't call an agent. They called me. And so I knew it was, some funny business going on. And they said, we want you on the show. I go, how much I just said, how much you going to pay? And they said, well, $100. It's something ridiculous. I said, nah, I don't want to do it. And that was like, they never thought that. I don't think anybody turned it down. They go, really? And they go, yeah, I don't want to do it. No, thank you. And I hung up. By then, my career was over. For me, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to act anymore. So there was nothing. It was not like I'm turning down a big career move. It was just, it's over. I just want to go home and hang out. So I said no. They called again. They called 4 times. And I hung up each time. Well, I told them no each time, so I hung up. I didn't bam. I said, nah, I don't want to do it. Until finally, on the fourth or fifth time, they offered me a normal amount, which was a couple of $100. I mean,
Mhm.
like a half a day, maybe a
Wow.
thousand. But just so I went. So they didn't want me on the floor. They kept on coming. They said no. So when I came down and Tom Selleck was being filmed. So I just, that was my timing. I just came down and there was Tom Selleck, and everybody was filming, so they didn't see me. I hid in the crowd, kind of, with everybody else watching. There was a whole crowd watching. And Tom Selleck said, okay, cut. And Tom Selleck comes past me. And Tom Selleck stops and he says, Mr. Heckles, I love you. And he kept going. I said, fuck
Oh,
you.
that's great.
Yeah. I thought it made it all good. It made it fine. It made it okay that they kept me upstairs. Tom Selleck.
Yes.
My
Well, what made you decide to write your memoir that time?
I just, all these stories that I'm telling you, I would
Mhm.
tell everybody all through my career. Once I did it, I would talk about it, And at the time, which was 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, so between 3 and 4 years ago, I started to think, I'm gonna forget all this. I'm gonna get old and doddering, and all this is just gonna disappear into the thin air. So I just want to record them. I didn't want to write a book. I just want to record them. So I was doing podcasts, because for acting. Yeah, they would call me, hey, you want to be on the show? Well, like you guys, they would call. And so one of the podcasters, like you guys, I had a recording studio. So one of the podcasters, Doug Dietzold, and I said, hey, can you record? He was telling me, because we would talk before the show. I did about two or three of his shows.
Mhm.
So we talked before the show on the phone, and I said I was using an iPhone, and I was saying, yeah, I want to record this stuff. And he says, what kind of phone are you talking to me on? I said, I got an iPhone. He said, man, they have incredible recording voice stuff in it. Said they're one of the best. I said, well, broadcast quality? He said, yeah. I said, if I talked to you on the phone and you recorded it in New Jersey, that's where you live. I said, we could broadcast that stuff. He said, oh, yeah, if it's an iPhone, yeah, because I got, good stuff here
Hmm.
at this. So I recorded all of them for an hour every Saturday. I
Oh,
would call him on my iPhone and I would tell him stories for an hour, just like you guys right now. He would ask me, and he would record them. And then there's Microsoft. I guess it's a couple of them now. But at the time, Microsoft had a tape to typing app.
so yes,
So you could play the tape into the machine, into your computer, and it would type it out.
we'll transcribe it, right?
So he did that, and I had a book. We did 8 hours, eight Saturdays, 8 hours of tapes, and he sent me 8 hours of typed material, and I just edited it. It took me a couple of months, 6 months to edit it all down. I would tweak the whole thing. I mean,
Huh.
it wasn't verbatim, but at least I had the hunk, and something that I could work with. And I said, well, now I got a book. He said, yeah. So he helped me. Doug helped me. He said, well, use this, don't use that. Okay, cool. And they sent it in. I got a publisher, and it got a 4.4 out of 5 on Amazon. But the
Nice.
real thing, okay, we can talk about it now. I can mention it. But the cool thing is, it got a 4.5, a 4.5 stars, 4.4, a
Mhm.
4.4 out of 5 gold stars, which is very good. That's big time. It's like a bestseller, but it's expensive. It's $28. So right now, 3 days ago, we released a Kindle book,
Ah,
$10. $10, man. Hey, who doesn't have $10, right? You'll feel a lot better about it, about yourself.
so
So
it's a fascinating book. I read through that. There's so many great stories. I have to ask though, did you hear from anyone afterwards who maybe might not have been happy being included in the memoir?
yes, one.
Okay, that's
And
what I got to.
amazing. My sister was protecting she didn't like it. She said, no, the family doesn't like what you said about grandpa. Or was it Murray? No, it was Murray, my uncle Murray. Loved. He was my babysitter. I mean, he was like my father and my grandfather. He was my family. Yeah, because I had said, because we were all my family. My grandfathers, both sides of my mom and dad, my grandfathers, all were immigrants, both sides. My grandmother and my grandfathers all came from Europe, learned to speak English, Austrian and God knows what, I don't know, some other thing. And they all came over. So none of them went to school. I mean, I think public school, maybe high school, but college, no. But my uncle Murray went to high school. He finished high school and got a high school diploma. So the family was very proud of that. And I was the only one, the first one. I was not the only, but I was the first one ever in my family to go to college. So that was a big deal. So when I said in the book, I said Uncle Murray never went to high school. Boy, did I hear it from my sister. No, he went to high school and the family is very disturbed about what you wrote about Uncle Murray. He went to high school and you got to change it. I had to change it. So I changed it, man. He went to high school.
Oh.
So except for that, no, no, because it's honest. There's nothing in it that I made up. So what can I complain about?
You could get it on Amazon. Could people also purchase it at your website?
Say that again.
You can buy the book on Amazon. Can people also buy it through your website?
No, but I'm going to do that for the book. You can buy it for $10 on Amazon.
Right.
When you go to the site, it has two prices: $28, and also it has a different cover. It's not this cover. This cover is like not a cool cover. The cover for the Kindle book is really cool. I love that cover.
That's where I got it. I got the Kindle.
For me, but it's a great one. And it's only $10. But yeah, if you go to Amazon.com and Larry Hankin, that guy, they'll give you two prices. The $28 is a big thing. But and up in the corner, just says $10. You can get it on Kindle.
Well, the subtitle of your
Amazon is smart.
The subtitle of your book is A Cautionary Memoir. What would you advise people to be careful about when pursuing a career in show business?
Don't. It's not cool. I'll tell you, I would give that advice to anybody who asks me, should I? If you start the sentence with should I, don't. It has nothing to do with whether you should or not. It's whether you have to. If you have to, then you have to. And if you quit, then you didn't have to. I mean, that's the only advice I can give you, man. I mean, if somebody says don't, get rid of him or her. It's really simple. It took me years to come to that conclusion. But I think that any job, whatever it is, digging ditches, should I dig ditches? Don't. Man, I gotta dig ditches. Go for it, man. And I'm with you 100%. And anybody who tries to stop me, come to see me.
You do many fan conventions?
Excuse me?
Do you do many fan conventions?
Well, I ain't got I'm weird about flying. So if it's near, yeah. If the money
Uh-huh.
is, yeah. But generally, no. I mean, like, I just won't go to Texas. There's a lot of, arena shows, Comic Cons in Texas, and I can't. I mean, the flying the flying and the money take secondary to PTSD about flying. I mean, when
Mhm.
that door came off of the plane, whoop, that was it, man.
Well, what are you working on next?
Well, I'm working on a stage show through my
Oh,
books. I'm writing another book right now. What I'm doing is I'm writing another book, something called something to do with Barnum Justice. That's going to be in the title. Uh, um, well, I have it over there. Barnum's Journal, or Barnum,
mhm.
or just Barnum Justice. But you know, everybody said I lived in my car for a year. I just was homeless for a year, and it was in between the committee and moving to Hollywood
Mhm.
in my car for a year. So I learned a lot about being homeless that nobody else knows except homeless people. They know it very well. So
Mhm.
I'm writing a book about it, but it's just through the eyes of a homeless person. So it's not about, now it may be called How to Be Homeless, but that's just a joke because it's just one guy trying to be homeless,
Mhm.
which is kind of me. When I was living homeless, I mean, there's a learning curve that's very steep because there's nothing like it. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're living homeless, either in your car or on the side of the street in a tent, or, up against a building, um, there's certain rules and no-nos and yeses, and you got to do this and you don't do that. And every 40 feet, there's another bunch of rules you got to follow, and you can't sleep next to a fire hydrant and all that stuff. And so I just try to, that's what the book is about. It's really about a guy, and he falls in love. And I remember one homeless guy once saying, you know, he was an alcoholic,
Mhm.
and that's what caused him to be homeless. I mean, he just
Uh,
lost everything, his wife, his kids, his job, just alcohol, and yeah. And I remember he was sitting moping, and I said to him, "What the hell are you moping about?" I mean, because there was nothing to do but mope, so moping was, kind of like stupid. Because I mean, is that all you got to do is just mope? You're homeless and you're gonna mope? Come on, man. I mean, I don't know. It just didn't seem right. So I said, "What are you moping about?" And he said, "How do you get laid without liquor?" Well, that kind of says it all. I mean, in a weird way. And then another guy who was a homeless guy, and he was a vet, and he said, uh, I guess what was it? I can't remember. Something it had to do with PTSD, but it was an answer to that years later. But it was a homeless guy capsule. What did he say? Okay, it'll come to me after I get off the air again. All right, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, yeah, but uh, what I tried to do in this book is just this guy. Oh, falling in love. Yeah, how do you get laid without liquor? And he said, "How do you fall in love?" Was because I got PTSD, and I, I don't know if I can share, because he was homeless. And then, how do you not be homeless? It's a big question, because you get used to it. You understand how to stay alive and survive being homeless.
Fine.
And to change, you're trapped. it's kind of like if I don't know, if you want to move and you only have enough money to pay the rent, you are paying the rent, but it's too much. You don't have money to do anything else. So you're just paying the rent. But that means you're trapped in the apartment. You want to move, but you don't have enough money to move. You know how expensive it is to move?
Yeah.
So you're trapped in a place you want to move out of, but it's too expensive to move. So, I mean, it's the same thing about falling in love. So that's what the book is about. Being homeless and trying to fall in love. In other words, the thing is, do I want to be homeless or do I want to get laid and be sheltered? And then in between there is love. Somehow, do you mix that up? How do you fall in love and be homeless? How do you fall in love, period, and then get sheltered and something? So it's a very individual thing, being homeless.
I think How to Fall in Love When You're Homeless is a good title.
Well, How to Fall in Love When You're Homeless. I guess maybe that's the title. It's kind of long.
That's the title to me.
And be homeless. Because everybody tells me, don't write a book about being homeless. Nobody wants to pay attention. And that's the whole point of being homeless, is nobody wants to hear about it. Take it somewhere else. Take it somewhere else.
Oh, good luck with that.
That's the answer to homelessness. I don't want to hear about that. Take it somewhere else. I mean, it's it's very cruel, but understandable. You're raising a family or whatever. You're not homeless. And you just I got enough trouble just keeping this thing going. I don't know. That's what it's about.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on today. We really want to thank you for coming today. It was so much fun to get to hear your stories, and I thoroughly enjoyed the book, and I recommend everyone go purchase That Guy, a cautionary memoir. It really was a lot of fun, and you name names. You name names in that memoir, so I think everyone would really get a kick out of it.
Well, thank you very much for having me. But yeah, That Guy for $10 is a good buy.
Yes, no, that's why I read it.
Plus rock on, whether you buy it. That's the important thing.
Well, again, this has been Pop Culture Retro. I'm Jonathan Rosen with Ike Eisenmann. And again, a very special thanks to Larry Hankin. And please like, comment, and subscribe.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Retro, where no one was hurt during the making of this podcast.